What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Lesser Athletes. I can't believe my headset just popped off like usual. New headset coming soon. Today we are exploring what if scenarios with the original WrestleMania 41 card and January Saturday Night's main event card. Now, I'm guessing if you're watching this and you are a WWE fan, you have considered or you've seen WWE Unreal in the past couple of days. Like, you've seen that's a thing. So I have watched the series. You should go watch the series because I think it's actually a really good thing. This is not a sponsorship, not something that I'm getting paid for. This is me just personally saying it was a very good series, and I think it really shows you the craziness that happens within WWE, and I don't think a lot of people realize about it. Anyways, I think you should, because they have also shown a little sneak peeks of potential things or things that was going to happen. Now, there is already a video about WWE Unreal of hypotheticals that have been thrown out. For example, CM Punk's Royal Rumble, John Cena winning the Royal Rumble, Bianca Belair winning the Royal Rumble, Chelsea Green winning the Royal Rumble, Kevin Owens Undisputed Championship. There's a little bit more there. I said a lot of them, but there's a little bit more. You should go look and go check it out. But today we are talking about something that was not addressed, but was shown. And it is the original WrestleMania 41 card, where they had on the side what the original card was going to be, and they had the original Saturday Night's main event stuff too. Not a lot of people have been talking about the Saturday Night's main event stuff because it's not as big, but today we're going to talk about it because I even seen it. So let's get started and talk about some what if scenarios if it would happen. So this is what I'm talking about. Now, I don't have the Saturday Night's main event. This is also a very blurry picture of this, but on the side of them doing their WWE, what is it called? Meetings and everything, they had this card which shows everything we see. We can see, I'm like looking from my like other camera or my other screen. You know, Cody Rhodes versus Cena, Reigns versus Rollins, Punk versus Gunther's a huge one that was there. Ripley and Bianca. They had the women's tag championship with Lynch and Flair. Like, there is some crazy ones there. We're going to talk about how they could have gone there, what could have happened after, or why they changed it, whatever. So, I forgot how else it is. So let's talk about the Saturday Night's main event card first. So here's one of the matches that was not on there. And let me first look up the original card so I can first tell you about that. Because I think, personally, the Saturday Night's main event card that this had clearly could not happen because of some decisions that they make. So the January Saturday Night's main event was Saturday Night's January. So obviously they couldn't do it was a week before Royal Rumble. It obviously was going to set up the Royal Rumble. It's obviously going to set up what's going to happen. The original card was Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the championship, which now makes a lot of sense why Nia Jax would have gone against Rhea Ripley. It's because they already planned it for the card. You had Braun Breaker versus Sheamus, which definitely felt like they needed the IC title on there, which there was a planned IC title match. They threw together the Kevin Owens and Shawn Michaels thing. Braun Strowman, Jacob Fatu was still planned on the card, and then Jey Uso versus Gunther. Now, I personally think some of these matches, you can tell that they pivot because of certain reasons. So let's first talk about Nia Jax versus Bianca Belair, which obviously could have been was going to be a setup for what would later on become the Mania match of Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill. I think they had plans for Nia Jax. I think they chose the route of Tiffany because they realized they could have ran a Tiffany and Flair match, and they thought it was going to be really good, putting over Tiffany Stratton, making her into a star faster. Didn't happen. So I think this match would have culminated for a Jade Cargill match. Crazy we didn't get to see that. The other thing that was kind of crazy was we were going to get a rematch of LA Knight versus Logan Paul. Maybe it was going to be, and supposedly Logan Paul is always going to be a Raw star. I would have to guess this list was before the premiere because they still had the premiere stuff on there, but of premiere of Raw, but they had the Raw premiere kind of card already fixed out. LA Knight versus Logan Paul, I wonder how that was going to happen and how they were going to do that. I don't know, truthfully. I don't know how it was going to lead into whatever was going to happen at Mania. But that was on the original card. And another one that was crazy was a TLC match. DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Street Profits. So these are the three that were on the original card, plus Braun Strowman and Jacob Fatu. This match, technically, we had instead DIY versus Street Profits happening before Mania, where Street Profits would get the tag titles, and then they would have that insane TLC match. Was it after Mania? I think after Mania, or before Mania. I think maybe was it before Mania? It makes sense it was before, but why am I remembering it for after? I think it was after. I don't know. I don't remember. Anyways, we instead got that there. So I wonder why that got moved. Maybe that they decided, instead. Well, Street Profits actually was injured at the time, so maybe they decided we'll have DIY versus Mostly Machine Guns happen at Royal Rumble, and then ultimately Street Profits come back, and that's when they insert themselves into the tag team division. I would guess something like that, but ultimately didn't get that. So, and then we have this on the original card. So now this is the update card. So after a little bit, they changed the card up. They only had 2 matches confirmed. And maybe Braun and Jacob Fatu. They had 2 matches confirmed. And then it kind of culminated with the next WrestleMania card we're going to talk about. So this is a Saturday Night's main event in January change. Shinsuke Nakamura versus LA Knight. Now, we did get this match, but it was on a SmackDown. So didn't entirely happen on a on Saturday Night's main event, but it did happen there. And we didn't even have LA Knight or the US title on January Saturday Night's main event, which was funny that he was projected on 2 Saturday Night's main events, didn't get on one of them. The one that is crazy that I can see why they changed a lot was Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker for the IC title, Braun Breaker as champion, and Jey Uso winning. This was going to be Jey Uso winning the IC title, which I can 100% say that because of the WrestleMania card that was coming up next. Now, it's crazy that, they decided in the show Jey Uso was going to win the Royal Rumble. Okay, that's cool, but how much changed from that? How much really switched up? And that was, Braun Breaker keeping the IC title to WrestleMania, not getting his big match. Jey Uso switching, or Braun Breaker going against Sheamus instead, like they just did a rerun of the Survivor Series. He's doing that on Saturday Night's main event. You're having Jey Uso go against Gunther now to show that he's a main event threat and tease that matchup. A little shocked, truthfully, gotta be honest with you. I don't think rerunning this for the third time, final time, was amazing. It would have been interesting, but yeah. I also want to say before I do this WrestleMania card, a lot of people are thinking this is a way better WrestleMania card. I can agree at some point, but you cannot deny that this WrestleMania, we wouldn't have had crazy moments. I don't think we would have had the Seth Rollins turn. I don't think we would have had one of the best triple threats in Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Io Sky would not be as prominent of a person. We wouldn't have had Tiffany versus Charlotte Flair. We wouldn't have had, Jacob Fatu coming out as a star. We wouldn't have Dominic Mysterio win the IC title. There's so much that could have, yes, it could be different, but there's so much great that we had at WrestleMania that I wouldn't want to change it. Truthfully, wouldn't want to change it. So let's start off talking about this card, which original WrestleMania 41 plan was the Undisputed Championship, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena, Elimination Chamber winner. Now, the things that I have to mention when they're making this card is what I personally would like to say is that, or what I would say is they didn't plan for the heel turn. That was a later on prospect, or later on potential. I guess potential would be the word, potential. So Cody Rhodes versus John Cena was the match. They were going to do Bayface on Bayface. They were already saying that they were fine with Bayface on Bayface, and John Cena would win the Elimination Chamber. I know that's a fact because they talked about who they wanted to win the Royal Rumble instead. It wasn't going to be one or the other. It was going to be this. Then we had an interesting card of Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. Now, I wonder if Heyman still would have switched on here and there was no CM Punk to be in the middle. I don't think this would have been a main event. I think this would have been an opener. I think this is a plan for next year's WrestleMania too. I think this is it with there could be a title, there could not be a title on the line. But I think Roman Reigns will beat Seth Rollins at a WrestleMania. I just don't know which one will happen. Then we had the crazy one that I think a lot of people are like, I can't believe we're robbed of this, was Royal Rumble winner CM Punk versus Gunther. A A lot of people talk about how they are mad about this because, of course, Punk's such a big icon. We got it at SummerSlam now, though. When I'm uploading this, it's before SummerSlam, so you know what happens, which I'm not really looking at that too much. Ultimately, though, Gunther, CM Punk, that's a WrestleMania match. Would have still main evented a WrestleMania, in my opinion, and he was the Royal Rumble winner. Now, there was another updated version where it showed the Jey Uso IC title and showed the LA Knight US title, and they had it where it was either going to be Seth and Roman or Punk versus Roman, and then there was also Seth versus Gunther or Punk versus Gunther. So either or, they were debating on which one to go against. And then ultimately, when Jey Uso got picked, it made a triple threat instead. But Seth Rollins was entered potential to win this. Would he have won Royal Rumble? I don't know. I think, in my opinion, probably not. I think it would have been EC. But he could have. But he was one that they were debating on too. But they didn't talk about really in the show. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley as champion and Bianca as the Royal Rumble winner. I'm assuming this is the Royal Rumble winner because they mentioned it. And also, they never talked about who would win the Royal Rumble beforehand. And I think for timeline-wise with her injury, it wasn't going to make sense. Rhea Ripley, though, as champion, I think what we got was way better, personally. I think we got in the triple threat rather than just Seth and Roman is a little bit better. I personally really do believe that I would rather have what we had now than this, but this is a match I think they're still going to run at some point in 2026. Up next, the one that's crazy to me is Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill. So obviously we know Nia Jax lost the championship to Tiffany Stratton due to cash-in back in early January. I think January 3rd it was, like the debut episode of SmackDown. I think it was something like that. And then we had Jade Cargill go against Naomi. Now, Naomi's not on this card, which maybe they were not thinking of doing that storyline, but it was Nia Jax as champion versus Jade Cargill, and I would guess Tiffany Stratton cashing in, and maybe that sets up a Nia Jax Tiffany rematch, and then they still get the Queen of the Ring, Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton. Maybe that's when Jade wins, but that was the plan. And I'm shocked. And also, I didn't say WWE Championship. Oops. It was for the WWE Champion. Now, it really shows that they kind of screwed over Nia Jax, if you really think about it, for what went down and what was changed. Because ultimately, she got cashed in on. She wasn't there for the, what is it called? She was there for the Royal Rumble. She wasn't there for Saturday night's main event. Well, she was to take a loss, not to win against Bianca Belair. And then you had Nia Jax not even on the WrestleMania card. So definitely screwed out in my opinion, but sucks. And now she's on NXT for now, so that sucks. Now they were still planning to do Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Obviously didn't happen because injury, but still that was the plan. Now this is an interesting one that it was rumored for a while. It was Judgment Day versus Wyatt 6, because I think this one got canceled because I think they said, it was 5-on-5. It was Liv, Raquel, and the three boys with the three. Okay, yeah. Well, is that with Alexa Bliss? Because I don't think she's on this card. I'm pretty sure she's not on the card. So I think it was Liv, Raquel, Finn, JD, Dom. Yeah, it was a 5-on-5, and Alexa Bliss would have been part of the Wyatt 6. They were hinting that, but ultimately, rumor has it, they didn't do the Wyatt 6 story because Uncle Howdy was injured. Even though he's unstoppable, he got injured. So that sucks we were kicked out of that, but kind of like Finn, JD. Well, JD was hurt too, so maybe that's why too. But I kind of like that we had Finn and Dom in the IC title. And then we had, or was it maybe one of the women were out and it was Carlito at the time? I don't know, or maybe Carlito was there with Jay. I don't know. Anyways, didn't happen ultimately. I think it was because of the Bray Wyatt injury. And then I like that we had Liv and Raquel with the tag team champions. That are still kind of a storyline going down. Up next, that's insane to me that how much they switched up. There's rumor that Lynch was going to make an appearance at the Raw after Mania, and now all of a sudden it said, or the Raw debut, and then it said, well, actually this didn't happen, whatever. I think that was the plan. It's just they switched things around when they gave Tiffany Stratton that briefcase. And what happened was we had Lynch and Flair. They were going to win the tag team champions from Bianca and Jade Cargill, I would guess, versus Io Sky and Asuka. Now, obviously, this really changed a lot of things because then we had Becky Lynch ultimately coming back to Mania to be tag team champions, but then lose immediately after Raw after Mania. And then we had Charlotte Flair, have her own things with Tiffany Stratton. Then Io Sky had her own things. Asuka was still injured. Maybe that's why this happened. Maybe Asuka was ready to return, but they just were not ready for Asuka. I don't know. I don't know what stopped this. I'm going to guess Io Sky becoming a part of the triple threat, or Asuka still being injured, or them thinking Charlotte Flair should be part of Tiffany. But yeah, this one's a little insane. Up next, we had still AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. That still worked out, still happened. Nothing crazy on that. Dominic Mysterio, though, was supposed to go against Bad Bunny. So I don't know if they canceled this because Bad Bunny couldn't do it. I don't know if they... Well, now I wonder if Dominic was even in that Judgment Day. Maybe he was doing double duty. I wonder if they switched it up on Bad Bunny because of other stuff. But this was the match. I don't hate it. I think it makes a little bit of sense when you look back at certain things. But I'm happy that Dominic Mysterio won the IC title instead. 100%. Up next in this match is the match that everyone thinks is so insane. Braun Breaker versus Drew McIntyre, Stone Cold as ref. Now, if you've seen my predictions for WrestleMania 42, SummerSlam, all the above, I have nonstop been booking Braun Breaker versus Drew, or Fatu versus Drew, or Fatu versus Breaker. I think those three, in some shape, or way, or form, we're going to have a match at, I even said for WrestleMania 41. I was going to have it for WrestleMania 41, have it at SummerSlam, have it at WrestleMania 42. Those three are going to be linked at some point here soon. Well, it looked like they were going to. So it looked like Breaker was going to lose his title at Saturday Night's Main Event. I would guess because Drew would interfere and Jay would win, and he didn't mean for Jay to win, but Braun Breaker was so pissed at Drew that they had a match because of that. And then Stone Cold as the ref for some reason. Oh, there goes my headset. I don't know why. I don't know why Stone Cold would have been ref, but this would have been crazy. I think would have been pretty nice. I think I might have liked this more than Damian, but gotta be honest, again, I'm fine with what we had. I really am fine. Which Damian Priest, oh no, he is on this card. I know he is. He is on this card. But yeah, again, this is something that changes so much because of Jey Uso. So the people that really were changed for all this stuff was the Tiffany Stratton cash-in and Jey Uso. Wow. So insane when one thing's changed, what happens. Anyways, next, Rey Mysterio with Travis Scott versus Chad Gable. Now, I don't know if this was El Grande Americano. I don't know if they had that plan by then. I would guess they had some sort of plan. But with Travis Scott is interesting because Travis Scott ultimately got with John Cena instead, which it looks like they did not know what to do with Travis Scott, but they wanted Travis Scott here originally. So another thing that I'm a little okay, cool. But Rey Mysterio also got injured, which we didn't get to have this match that was originally going to be the plan. So another thing that was kind of, I really do believe watching that series, Travis Scott was just really there for a favor. So we'll see. So now we're at their two last matches for the IC title, and which also I'm realizing they had no plans for the women's US and no plans for the women's IC title, even still. Anyways, original plan was WrestleMania 41. The IC title would be champion Jey Uso, and I'm assuming that because of Saturday Night's Main Event, the updated version, versus Damian Priest, so doesn't go to SmackDown, Sami Zayn, Sheamus, Ludwig Kaiser, and Bronson Reed. Now, Bronson Reed maybe was going to be ready by then, but then they ultimately saved him for another time. I would guess by then because they're ultimately assuming that if it was so early into him getting injured. This is an interesting one because would Jey Uso lose it? I would guess so because it's a ladder match. It kind of helps Jey. Who wins it? Not Sammy. I don't think Damian. I think it would have been a Grand Slam Sheamus. I really do. I think that would have made sense at WrestleMania 41. Ludwig Kaiser, though, still there. Bronson Reed being a part of that. That would have been a great ladder match that feel like we're a little bit robbed out of, but I still like the IC match that we had. Now, the US match is interesting because it has no Jacob Fatu. Clearly, after that Strowman match, they were like, we have to push Jacob Fatu a little bit more and switch it up. So, LA Knight as champion, because you have to look at the Saturday Night's main event, they were going to give it to LA Knight. Then you had Santos Escobar, not on Mania, hasn't been really featured. Jimmy Uso wasn't on Mania. I really thought there was going to be something with the US title. You had Andrade, you have Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes. If I had to guess who would have won this match, it wouldn't have been LA Knight because I think they were going to try and push him a little bit. I would assume would have been Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, or Carmelo Hayes. Those are the three that I keep going back and forth. I would have been there. I don't think it would have been Carmelo Hayes because instead he won the Andre the Giant Memorial. Maybe he was going to win big, and this was his oh, well, at least you get this. I think it was Solo or Jimmy. And I think, honestly, it was Solo, and then they would have set up Jacob Fatu winning that championship. But that was the original Mania card. How do you like it compared to the other one? Because in my opinion, this card does look good, but I am 100% fine with the one we got because, in my opinion, a little bit more crazy twists and turns. Other than that, if you guys enjoyed, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.